Today we have one of the most popular topics of all, and that is manifestation. And to kick it off, I want to read the chapter on manifestation, or at least the first couple of paragraphs of it from my book. And that will kind of get us going. Are we ready? Yes. Okay, awesome. Okay. Manifestation. The idea of getting what you want simply by desiring it has universal appeal. It's a powerful feeling to imagine that unlimited prosperity and abundance are at your fingertips and that all you have to do is think it into existence. But manifestation is not a standalone activity you engage in whenever you want something special to happen. It's not a ritual performed behind closed doors. It's not an altered state you achieve that unlocks secret capabilities. It's not a special skill reserved for the fortunate few. You're always manifesting. You manifest by being you. You manifest by not being you. You manifest your reality right now, constantly, all the time. You can't not manifest. Manifesting is being, and being is manifesting. You don't have to learn to manifest. You are already an expert at it. The question is not, how do I manifest? The question is, what am I manifesting? All right. Well, there's certainly something to be said about how life is a mirror. The world we're experiencing, the reality we're experiencing is always a reflection of who we are. And as such, that's how life ultimately is our greatest teachers, because we're always seeing ourselves, experience ourselves, seeking ourselves in everything we do. If we look real close, if we look real deep, we're always looking to experience ourselves, to discover who we really are, find our true self, find our whole self, because underneath all those layers of self-limiting beliefs, layers of hurt and trauma, a lot of it inherited, isn't even our own, from our family structures, from society around us, from generations and social groups. Underneath all of that stuckness, there is that whole complete self that is wanting to reveal itself, that was there from the beginning. And so manifesting our best life is not really about adding anything or becoming anything. It's always about peeling back the layers to reveal what's already there. So conscious living, so much of what we talk about here in terms of meditation and mindfulness and engaging with the world around us, really working through our sensations to be able to observe our feelings, the ability to observe our thoughts so that we don't get pulled into every single thought that comes along and hijacks our attention and our life force, essentially. That is the quality of mindful living, and that ultimately results in a certain experience of life. And the more conscious we are of our thoughts, the more we can recognize the ones that resonate with our inner blueprint and follow those, engage with those, use those, build our life on those, build momentum on those. And we can leave alone the ones that don't resonate, that don't feel good, that aren't right, that are limiting, that are diminishing in some way. And same thing with our feelings, is that we can recognize what feels good, what feels right, that we can spend more time with feelings that uplift us, that elevate us, and be able to observe all feelings ultimately, but the negative ones, the diminishing ones, that we're able to let those go. And those will happen. They happen, and feelings come and go. And the best we can do is to observe even the unpleasant ones, feel them fully. And that is the quickest path, the path of least resistance, ultimately, to them leaving us again. It's only when we react and push unpleasant feelings away That's when we actually amplify them. That's when they stay, and they also grow stronger over time. So the best opportunity we have to release and not ever even have negative feelings get stuck through our reaction to them is when they first arise, is to notice the sensations where we're feeling something, locate them. And from there, we're able to hold space for the feeling to come and go. Now, there's something to be said. This is an overall mechanism of being in the flow and living with life as it arrives. There's one step further that we can take, and that is really intentional living, setting intentions, setting goals in the way that it's healthy, that we're not attached to how we get there. It's just what we want to have happen, because what we want to have happen resonates. And again, our ability to discern positive, uplifting, resonating thoughts from diminishing, limiting ones is key in order to be able to set positive goals. Same thing with our feelings, the ability to allow all feelings to arise and pass, but to be able to discern which ones are in resonance and in alignment with who we want to be ultimately, not who we want to become so much, but what we want to let go of so that we can be the person that we ultimately are at our core. And so how do we set that intention? This is one of the key elements in manifestation that almost no one really talks about, because what we hear out there from all kinds of sources of law of attraction, intention setting, and goal setting is that we need to hold the vision of something as if it's already here. We need to feel the experience of living a particular life as if it's already here. And that is correct in the sense that we need to experience that our reality, our external reality, flows from our internal experience. So that part is accurate. But you very rarely hear anyone talk about having and developing the proper tool set in order to be able to hold that frequency, that vision. Because as we found, a lot of us have been to these Sunday meets before. I'm going to call them manifestation sessions from now on. Because we're manifesting ourselves to be ourselves, to be the best version of ourselves. And so Be You is really about manifesting who you really are. Our life is one great big manifestation act. But the quality of our tools is our ability to stay focused on the frequency, hold that frequency. And how we hold frequencies is, again, with our thoughts and our feelings. Be able to stay with thoughts that resonate, and our ability to stay with feelings that resonate, and not get distracted by the other stuff, not just get distracted by the noise, not get distracted by certain habits or the media or all the other forms of distraction that exist all around us. And so when we first sit down to do a little breath work like we do in every session, and we'll do it again today, we notice very quickly that within a few seconds of trying to keep our attention on the incoming and outgoing breath at the entrance of our nostrils, that our attention, our focus fades. Our minds drift into la-la land, other thoughts. One thought leads to the next and to the next. And so we find ourselves lost in thought. And that takes us out of alignment with whatever frequency we're looking to hold. That's how we lose touch with the thought that we're trying to maintain in order to manifest an intentional goal. So taming the mind, developing our ability to sharpen the mind so that it can stay focused on the thought that we're looking to manifest a reality from is key in all of this. Because you can have the most beautiful thought and something really resonates, relationships, career, abundance of all kinds, a lifestyle, and whatever, health, whatever it may be. But if our mind is always jumping, our monkey mind owns us more than we own it, then we lack the ability to maintain the frequency of a particular thought. And so then that affects our ability to manifest consistently long enough a good feeling thought into the reality around us, because our mind is always fading and drifting and jumping. So no wonder we have difficulty manifesting what we truly desire into the external, because we're working with a muscle, an awareness muscle of our thoughts that isn't quite well developed yet. We still lose our focus too often in order to maintain a particular thought about something. And that thought leads to a feeling, and then to be able to maintain that feeling as well and not get distracted by other feelings, not be distracted by our own inner critic when we feel something. Very often we're our own worst critic, and very often we are our own worst saboteur, in that we feel something that's good and that's right, and we may have guilt around that, or we may have feelings of I don't deserve this around that, or we may have feelings of this is new, this is scary, it's the unknown, can I really trust it? All of this noise starts to set in. So even there, again, the ability to hold the attention on a particular feeling without getting distracted is key. So ultimately, this means, our mindfulness practice is the key component, the platform from which we can manifest, and without which we just are too scattered to really create that which we so truly desire. We're just simply not able to maintain our focus consistently long enough in order to have our inner state reflected in the outer state. It just doesn't take long before we drift to something else. Just something else by itself is a distraction. But then, of course, we have negative thoughts and fears and doubts and anxiety. Ultimately, being a master manifester means being a master presence master. Right? We have to be able to stay present, because that's our awareness. Our awareness is a container for our thoughts to come and go, and then we discern what resonates with us and what doesn't. And our awareness is the container for our feelings to arise and pass, so that we're in the driver's seat of our feelings, and they don't determine how we feel. And by extension, we then become bigger than the situations around us, so that the people, places, and things around us no longer control how we feel. We're no longer dependent on our environment for how we feel. Because as long as we're looking to control what's around us in order to make us feel a certain way, that's, again, a level of absorption and attachment and distraction from being able to hold your own frequency so that you can manifest what you want, because that's an internal frequency. If we're looking to the world around us to be able to hold that frequency, well, the world around us is constantly changing. It's constantly evolving, people doing things that we don't want them to, and situations unfolding differently than we expected. We're always chasing to control the world around us, then we'll never find that inner peace ultimately, right? We need that peace within, that from which we can hold a frequency, from which we can then, if we maintain it consistently enough, without the mind drifting, without wandering, so that we can then see that manifested in the world around us. And before the world around us even reflects that, we start feeling that, right? Our internal experience comes first, to the point when life around us fills in the gaps, reconfigures itself to match our internal state, the way we feel, it's not really new. It's not really a surprise. It's not something that we look for. And that ultimately is a key to staying within the frequency of your alignment. If we're looking to see the external effects, that too takes us out of holding the frequency of something, because we're again latching ourselves, we're looking for proof, we're latching ourselves onto what's around us, and then there's that judgment that starts to seep in of it's working, it's not working, why hasn't it worked yet, and so forth. So the key is to never look for, because that takes us out of our own manifesting self, out of holding the consistency of a frequency, but to rather just notice. So staying contained within that vision that we have, that feeling that we have, that the thoughts that we have around how we want to be, that becomes who we are before it then is reflected on the outside. And our only role in that is to notice when we see it manifest around us. If we look for it, it takes us out of it again, right? Then we're dependent, and we slip into comparative and validation and kind of the mental lens of judging and again looking for proof. So it's only to notice when things suddenly start to appear and not attach ourselves to that and like, oh, it's working, and like that takes us out of it again. I know so many people who are ultimately, all of us, but specifically I can think of a handful who are super powerful manifestors. Whatever they carry in terms of frequency and vision within them, it starts to happen very quickly. And then what happens is they cut themselves off, because as soon as it starts to show itself, they go, woohoo, it's here, and it's happening. And that's when they lose connection to the frequency, the vision of what they're holding, because now they're engaging with the external again and like, okay, this needs to happen next, or, expectations seep in of like, okay, now this is going to lead to this and this and this. And again, that takes us out of holding the frequency of feeling the fullness of your manifestation. You leave the fullness of that state and you get back into the partial state of like, oh, this is in place now, but this is still missing, and all of this kind of controlling, steering, and judging behavior. So we have to maintain the frequency of the fullness of the experience that we're seeking to have within, and that is then the quickest path to realizing it in the world around us, in the material world. So, any questions and hands? I see a chat there. Let's see. Let's take a. Thank you, AJ. Yes, wonderful. Stephanie, yes.
Good morning from Atlanta, Georgia. So can you give an example of what that might look like to, you said, identify the feelings that resonate and to manifest from that place. So, but not to get attached to the outcome, but to realize it as it's happening, but not get too excited like it's happening. Can you give an example?
Yeah. Is there something specific you're looking to manifest?
Growing my business.
Growing your business. Okay, perfect. So without imagining the steps that it takes to get there, right? That takes us into kind of partial controlling mindset, but rather to feel within yourself, locate the feeling of, be it, this many clients, be this many, your day-to-day experience of what it is to be in that fully successful, fully grown, fully evolved business, whatever that looks like for you, and locate where that feeling is within you. Like, is it in your stomach, or, butterflies? And it could be a feeling of power and accomplishment, and all of that shows up somewhere, right? It's not just, if we just attach ourselves to, oh, it'd be nice this way, and actually look for where you feel that in your body. And then you have something to focus on. You now can actually hold space for that feeling. That's step one. And really familiarize and examine that feeling, right? You really want to sink into that, locate where that feeling is, and look at its shape, its size, its color, its character, its texture, give it a name, play with it, right? Go deeper in it, see if you can even like penetrate it and like see what's inside, and just like really immerse yourself in that feeling. So that's step one. Step two then is to be able to stay there. And that's really the true, skill here. Because we can all kind of feel, oh, that would be great, but then we haven't yet developed that ability to stay there consistently long enough, because we get pulled away into other things easily. Very often those other things are our fears, fear of success, or how long will it take? We start to just break the experience of the end state, by getting too much into the how it'll happen, when it will happen, and these expectations that we build. So that's where the awareness muscle that we're building during our meditation sessions comes in as your key tool to be able to hold space for that feeling, and that is your awareness of the feeling. And then notice, okay, I'm feeling this other feeling over here, that may be fear, or that may be I want it really fast, or I am I ready for this? Whatever, all kinds of different feelings and thoughts and doubts, or whatever may come along, that gets into too much into the practical, too much into how is it going to happen. You're really focusing on what you want to have happen through the sensation in your body, and your ability to hold space for that in with your awareness, full awareness, that creates a safe container essentially for that feeling that you're looking to manifest, without getting pulled into all the distractions of life. So the stronger your awareness of that feeling, the more you really truly engage with it fully without getting pulled away. You may experience other sensations in your body as you're spending time with that feeling, and you may experience other thoughts coming in. So nurturing our awareness muscle is ultimately the key to being able to hold that vision consistently and long enough. And ultimately, when we already feel like something has happened, then that is already the success. Oprah talks about how when she called Eckhart Tolle to tell him that she accepted him into his Power of Now into his book club, and she laughs because when he answered the phone and she told him, he said, "Oh, that's nice." And then I've heard Eckhart tell his version of the story on his end, and he was like, "Yeah, because I had been holding space for this experience and for such a long time that when it actually did arrive, it was no longer a surprise. He had already been feeling that way, that it didn't add, the phone call didn't add, it was just the noticing, oh, here it is." So this is where we want to get into, is you want to be feeling like it and stay with that sensation in your body without getting pulled into the external of is it happening yet? And you may be called to take action, but that too will come from within. And it's not action that is outcome oriented. I need to do this, this, and this, and this to get there. But it's more like, which is more rational thinking. It's more a feeling from within, like an intuitive hit. Okay, I need to step into this. The best way I can describe that feeling is that it's infused, deeply infused with passion, deeply infused with like a calling of I must do this. It's not a rational kind of thought. It's just feeling called to do something. And very often that is uncomfortable. That's another indicator that when something is your true calling and a step you need to take, it's not necessarily like, oh, this is perfect and beautiful and a fantasy, right? It requires you to step up, like any goal that we set ourselves. It's something that is typically that we need to grow into, that we're expanding into. That's why it's a goal by definition. But we have to be willing to expand. And again, that's what stops a lot of people, is that like, oh my gosh, I've got to take classes to improve my, business analytics skill or public speaking or whatever it may be, right? I have to learn to write a pitch deck or be customer client facing. And, how do I deal with larger groups? There's so much that can go into this. So again, the first step is when you truly, and visualization is a great way to kickstart that process, is like just really visualize this day-to-day experience, not the big picture. It's too easy to get lost or get just lost in that. It's not detailed enough. So really the day-to-day experience of having your business be just fully flowing and functional and up and running and prosperous. The day-to-day experience is something that can create a true feeling within you, that sensation that you're looking to hold. If you're too high level, you don't feel that as distinctly in your body. So put yourself in the shoes of when everything is exactly the way you envision it. Look for that feeling, that sensation in your body. And then the part of having nurtured your awareness muscle through breath work and through our body scanning, those are the two key tools to be able to keep our monkey mind at bay from having the critical thoughts jump in, or rushing thoughts, or anxiety from about the future, about the unknown, which is huge in this, right? When you're looking to achieve a goal, there's this component of the unknown, which if we're exclusively living through the mind, it gets to be very scary because the mind likes to know things. And so it will seep in and try to predict and control. And so we want to stay out of that. We have to stay in our body with the sensation of what it feels like. Ideally, the day-to-day visualization of the day-to-day, journaling of the day-to-day. I mean, just start writing out like 6 a.m. I get up and I start doing this, and I check out my client lists, and I've got to report back on this one, and this one I need to research a little more. And who do I know who's a resource? And then I take care of myself and have my morning, walk the dog and my coffee and a healthy, just really detail it out the way you want it. I have not seen anyone ever create a vision board and not have it see realized at some point. Sometimes years later, but when you do that and you look back on it, it always comes to fruition. It's just amazing. And it seems miraculous, but it's not. We're energetic beings in an energetic universe. And so everything's about energy. And we're always, intentional living is from creating the energy, harnessing the energy, manifesting from within, as opposed to making the outside control how we feel inside. So that's conditional living. If we're always looking externally for the condition for us to feel good, and those conditions are never predictable or controllable, but rather the intentional living is from within and feeling that way first, and then the outside of the world starts to reflect that, because we're manifesting. Manifestation is creating a lens, a certain filter on life. Everything is possible, and whatever filter we apply limits that everything, or it focuses that everything. In the sense of manifestation, we want to focus it on the world and the life that we want to see and that we want to experience. So we're really chipping away at the old lens of limiting beliefs, and reprogramming the lens through which we see and experience life to match our inner alignment.
Thank you so much.
Was that helpful?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Please report back. And like I said, it's visualizations are super powerful. Mood boards are super powerful. Magazines are not so common anymore. Recently I did a mood board session with some people, and we couldn't find magazines anywhere. So sometimes you have to be creative and go to an old kind of swap bookstore, swap meet or something, find a stack of magazines and scissors and some glue and a big sheet of paper, or even just on the table, and just cut things out, words, flip through. Again, what we want to work with is our blink response. And people who are interested in the science behind it, there's lots of books written on that. Blink is one of the better ones. Malcolm Gladwell. And so when you're flipping through a magazine, just whatever catches your eye, that's what resonates. That's before thoughts kick in. You see your inner blueprint in that initial immediate reaction. Flipping through the magazine, you'll see words that jump out at you. You'll see colors that jump out at you. You'll see shapes that jump out at you. You'll see certain scenes that jump out at you that represent a mood. And without thinking much about it, just whenever something jumps out, numbers, it could be anything, right? Just cut it out, go through a couple of magazines like that, cut out a 10, 20, 30 snippets until you feel like you've kind of, okay, I've got enough here to work with, and then put those old magazines aside and just arrange what you have in a certain way. Sometimes you may feel like you're missing something and just go back and maybe find that in the existing magazines, and then create that collage. Super, super powerful. And other than that, you can just journal out like your daily schedule, also super powerful. So if you do those three things, right, get some great visualization music on from YouTube or wherever, do a mood board, and then journal out your daily schedule. This is nurturing a sensation within you. So as you're doing all those things, you're essentially creating the picture of the future that you're looking to pull into the now. So you're manifesting, we're always manifesting from the future, right? We're living from the future, pulling into our experience of now, what we want to have happen. And when we do those three exercises, we'll create that sensation, that feeling of what it's like to already be there, to have that future self now. And that's when you then the ability to hold that sensation, look for it, feel for it, stay with it, examine it, really, really sink into it. And that's right there is your formula of manifestation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Always great, great questions. And let me check out, we have okay. I am wondering, do we have to think of something before we meditate? Something that we want to release, or do we just meditate and let the thoughts come to us? Great question. Okay, so it can be both, but it doesn't have to be one or the other. So when you have something that's really pressing, really wants to surface, that's on your mind, yes, you can sit down and go into meditation with that on your mind already. I would call that a focused meditation, where you're already acutely aware of something that needs to be examined. So in this more focused meditation, you really, first thing you do is you sit, maybe do some of the breath work that we do, 5 minutes of that to focus the mind, right? Again, when we notice that the mind is jumping all over the place, the thing that will calm it down is not wanting it to jump all over the place. It's being okay with the mind jumping all over the place. That's what calms it down. So it's paradoxical, but that's how it works. If we're in resistance to something, what we resist persists. We've heard that before. So when you feel you're doing the breath work and you feel your mind is racing, it's constantly pulling your attention away, the best way to calm your mind is to see it as it is, just accept it. And that's what you want to do, a couple minutes of thought awareness, by focusing on your breath to become aware of the thoughts. As your mind calms down, your ability grows to keep your attention on one area where you want it to be. And then you can start working with the sensations in your body. And that also really applies to our manifestation technique we just outlined, is that you want to start with, before you go into where you're feeling this, you want to start with some breath work so that you can notice the thoughts. And sometimes our mind is just super monkey mind, and we needed to calm and tame that. We need to be able to focus that mind before we examine the sensations within. Okay. So before you do the visualizations, some breath work. Before we do the mood board, some breath work. Mood boards are typically a longer session, maybe half an hour to an hour. So in that process, you're probably calming yourself down anyways. So it's not as necessary that you do some breath work, but it can't hurt. It can always help get you in tune with your intuition and really, again, see what's jumping out at you more quickly, more accurately. And then, of course, the journaling, that's where it's super helpful because we're just not feeling as distracted, so that you can really sink into the detail of your daily schedule as you see it and as you want to experience. So that's a focused meditation session. Is you sit down with a particular issue that's really on your mind, something that might have happened very recently or today. I know when I interface with people that trigger me in a big way, that I set aside time immediately, right after the meeting or the phone call, whatever it may be, to sit and observe and hold space for the feeling so that they can leave me as quickly as possible. Because the longer we kind of let them simmer, the stronger they get. And then something else might happen, and that pushes the first initial feeling triggered down further. Now we're dealing with the new thing, and we want to keep our system as clear as possible, clean as possible. So that's focused meditation. When you have something very specific, when you have a solid mindfulness practice in place, you're probably not going to have these big things happen anymore. If they do, that's fine. But you just get up in the morning, and your routine is to not even question why you're going to sit and meditate. It's part of your daily routine now. And so you just sit, and that's more of a general meditation session where you're nurturing your ability to not just work on feelings, sensations that are already stuck, that need attention, but rather you're working on your ability to feel your aliveness. The aliveness is what allows all feelings, as you then go into your daily life, as feelings arise, that they don't get stuck to begin with, that you're able to feel and hold space for your whole body, all sensations that arise all the time, so that you're always in a constant state of connection with your awareness of yourself. So as you're engaging with people, as you're engaging with situations, feelings, sensations arise, and you're always aware of them. You're always noticing, oh, I feel this here as you're talking to somebody. Oh, I feel this here as you're presenting in a board meeting or whatever it may be, as you're talking to a client. To stay connected to your sensations, that staying connected, that noticing, oh, I'm feeling it here. And it's very easily done. Just this feeling of staying in tune with yourself becomes your true north, your dominant self, where I hear, 30%, I hear 50%, I hear certain numbers, but you can keep 30, 40, 50% of your attention in touch, in alignment with your body as you're engaging with the world around us. That is kind of the sweet spot of your awareness of self, of the beingness of yourself, in context of your external life, the doing of things, the engaging with the material world. So if we're too lost, if we're too far into the world around us, the material, that's when we get dependent on that world for how we feel. We lose touch with our sensations. We lose touch with our awareness, with our presence of knowing which thoughts to accept and which ones to let go, knowing which feelings to hold space for and which ones to release. So we have to, all of this is about developing your ability to maintain a connection with your body, essentially, as you engage with the external. Half and half is ideal. I can imagine, play around with it. And there's some activities you want to be fully immersed. I know when I play tennis, the best times I do my best, perform my best, or when I'm playing music, the best times I feel like it's just flowing. I'm completely lost in the experience of it internally, and it feels like I'm 90% just in tune with the experience of being in the flow, and somehow the fingers are just moving on their own. Somehow my racket and the ball it's all happening by itself. I'm not efforting anything. And that's really what it means to be in the flow completely, especially when you ask athletes, they when you experience that, or when you're a surfer and you get that perfect wave and you just don't even, the world stops, time stops, and you're experiencing yourself as part of the greater current. So I hope that helps. Yes. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot to this, right? But this is what makes this life so much more interesting and so much more intentional and so much more like a journey of discovery, an adventure that we're on, a script that we're writing for ourselves as the hero. Like this is the stuff that makes life so much more exciting and fun than just being attached to a thought and going down a rabbit hole and not really experiencing the now. This makes life so much more compelling than reacting to every feeling that comes up in us, and then our life goes up and down and roller coaster and around, and we just feel so small. We get pulled into the smallness of our identification with a particular thought and feeling. One thought can take us over. It can own us, and that thought, the smallness of that, we become it. So no wonder when we over identify with thoughts and feelings, no wonder we become scared and lonely and depressed, and like we're up against the big world and everything's against us, and we don't feel the unity, we don't feel our vastness, because we're just kind of following every single thought that comes along or every feeling that arises and always reacting to those things. Yes, awesome. Laura, I saw, Stephanie, do you have a follow-up question?
Laura first.
Okay, Laura first. Yay, Laura.
Beautifully answered it, I think. But you're also talking about sustainability for this, that I was just taking what you're saying and imagining myself as this consciousness feeling and allowing like the electrical energy to just manifest with that energy. So as more as we can hold peace and we hold love, we see ourselves as this cup that is overflowing truly into our world, into ourself, into the great beyond. And that just felt wonderful. So
Oh, that's beautiful. You know, this aliveness, it's sometimes I feel like we're in these human bodies intentionally because it slows things down. If we were just pure throughput and pure source energy, we couldn't be in our bodies. It'd be too much to handle. But that's a good problem to have, is to get to the place where we're just so connected that we're so alive and we're just limitless. We experience ourselves as limitless because we are. And the less we identify with stuff, and the more we inhabit the power of that aliveness and manifest from there. I mean, I love this visual of just, you know, experiencing the energy of that and being like, you know, Thor or some empress or something, and you're just like throwing beams of light and of your light of your awareness all around you. That's a powerful visual right there. Thank you, Lauren. Yeah. And it is true that we start to our cup starts to flow over, and then we want to give, then we're able to be of service. And we've all heard, I just got an email from Tony Robbins, his next thing, and is, you know, put the oxygen mask on yourself first is the subject line. And we've all heard that in planes, and we can't really give unless we're in a position of kind of that abundance and overflowing state. If we're weak, we can't help others. If we're down, we can't lift others up. So it's not selfish. It's not self-absorbed. It's being in a position strong enough to then have that overflow and help others. And it happens naturally. When we have so much to give, then we can give. We're able to just like we want to. and there's no other way. It wouldn't work otherwise. So beautiful. Thank you, Laura. Awesome. Stephanie, back to you.
Thanks, Laura, as well. That was really lovely and helpful. And I felt energized just thinking about you mentioning it. I wanted to follow up on what you said to Ida. So what you're saying is, in essence, the practice is to always, in all situations, be coming back to our inner sensations when we're engaging with people or just engaging with life. In essence, is like that's how we grow that awareness, is to come back to the sensations within us.
Yes, the being aware of the sensations means no longer reacting to them. So it's our reaction to what we're feeling that keeps us in kind of a muddy place where we're just being jerked around by whatever's coming up. And so our awareness of our sensations is essentially a container for life to happen, life to flow through us. And so maintain a connection to that, to all of our sensations, wherever they show up. Sometimes they show up in our big toe. And I've had people say that all of my sensations are my big toe. And I'm like, good, that's why we're doing full body scans, to really feel your aliveness in all parts of us, because our bodies are always they're the connective tissue. Our senses are the connective tissue to the present moment, what's right now, what's happening right now. And those senses lead to a particular physical experience, a physical sensation. So staying connected to the sensations is ultimately staying connected to the present moment, which keeps us out of past and future thinking. And yeah, it just takes a little practice.
Like even right now, like as we're watching, and like we should be, so even like now.
Absolutely. Right now, I have an awareness of there's cool air breezing over my head. And there's subtle awareness of the shirt that's on my back. I don't know if you can hear, but there's an AC running. And just to stay fully kind of connected with right now. And how to do that is through our sensations. So yeah, nurturing your ability to always feel what you're feeling, and then you're bigger than your feelings. You're bigger your sensations, right? We have, when we get on stage, or if we're talking with a big shot client, or, when we're new at something, to be able to hold space for the sensations as they arise makes us not be so reactive, not feel the fear in the way that it overtakes us. We can feel the fear, we can feel the tension, we can feel the anxiety as they show up as sensations. But when we are aware of them, as opposed to reacting to them, in our awareness, they can't get to us, that we're bigger than the sensations. So you'll feel mindfulness is not about pushing down feelings or meaning you'll be happy forever. No, you'll experience what you need to experience in response to what's happening. But it's being on the side of awareness. Those feelings can never overtake you. You're never identifying with them to the point where they own you. You continue to own them. You're saying, I feel you, there you are. And then as you observe, and your awareness is basically a non-reactive, unbiased state to the sensation, that allows the sensation to then pass again. So it's our reaction to them, our judgment of our feelings is what pulls us into identification with them. It's what keeps them stuck then and amplifies them. And we try to dictate our environment so that it doesn't make us feel a certain way. It's all just convoluted. Really just stay aware of what you're feeling is staying present and staying in your body. And we never want to lose touch with that. Yay. Awesome. How are we doing on time here? Oh my goodness. All right. So maybe today we'll just do, make sure. We'll do the thought awareness, right? Which is the most important thing. And it's the simplest thing you can do before any important moment, even while you're doing, say, while you're presenting to somebody, or you're having a conversation as a coach with a client, or whatever it may be, that there's these little moments when you can just refocus and notice the air at the entrance of your nostrils. It just takes a second. And it pulls you back out of whatever, when you feel a little anxiety coming up, or you feel like you're racing, or again, our awareness of our body is sending a message of, like, my heart's thumping. The fact that you can notice that your heart is beating, it already puts you into the driver's seat. If you like, oh, I don't want my heart to beat, you're reacting to that. What now? What next? It quickly escalates into panic. But rather staying on the side of awareness. My heart is beating really heavily right now. And good speakers, you'll hear them say that. Wow, This is a big audience, and my heart is really beating right now, and they're okay with that. And to be okay with that keeps it from escalating and getting out of control. You simply notice your sensations. When you can notice, everything is manageable. If you stay on the side of noticing things, of your awareness of those things, then they can't overtake you. So let's do we have like let's see, we have 7 minutes of our breath work, and then maybe next time we'll do body scanning again, but I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Yay. All right, so getting into a comfortable position, and with your eyes and mouth closed, bring your attention to the incoming and outgoing breath at the entrance of your nostrils. If you have trouble locating your breath, you may breathe slightly harder once or twice. And then return to natural breath, normal breath. Let the detail of your breath pull you in closer. If it's more in the left nostril, let it be the left nostril. If it's more in the right nostril, let it be the right nostril. Or if it's both nostrils, let it be both nostrils. Notice the temperature of the incoming breath. Notice the temperature of the outgoing breath. Notice if there's a difference. Notice the pace of the incoming breath. Notice the pace of the outgoing breath. Notice if there's a difference. Whenever you notice that your mind has drifted, simply notice it. And without frustration, bring your attention back to the entrance of your nostrils. when you feel ready, gradually open your eyes. Notice your environment. Notice yourself in your environment. Notice the energy in your body. Notice your aliveness. So that was wonderful. I will be announcing a larger manifestation boot camp that's coming up soon. So be on the lookout for that, so that we can do some of those exercises that we mentioned together. And thank you, Laura, again. I have this vision of like doing the mood boarding and doing the visualization and doing the journaling, and we're just throwing these beams of light and lightning all around us, and I love that visual. And Laura's an incredible life success coach herself, so please also check her out. Is it lifesuccesscoach.com?
Refresh coach.
Life, got it. Refresh, liferefreshcoach.com. So I thank you everyone again for this amazing session. I light up when I see your faces. So this is a mirror of ourselves as well. Thank you for the hearts, right? Thank you so much for that. And yes, have a blessed and beautiful day. And we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.